Hello and welcome, Star Wars fans, to this week's episode of Duel of the Ranks, a show where debate takes so hot that they'd melt a planet with twin suns. My name's Brody, and I'm joined by my co-hosts Brian and Amanda as we attempt to discover what story is truly the best from a galaxy far, far away. On this week's episode, we're going to be discussing ranks and hot takes from Season 1, Episodes 19, 20, and 21 of The Clone Wars, being the Storm on Ryloth, the Innocence on Ryloth, and Liberty on Ryloth. By the end of this episode, we'll have a definitive answer on where these pieces of Star Wars content ranks amongst the rest. And with that, let's get this show started. This is the best arc we've covered thus far.
The Ryloth trilogy. Yeah. Really, I think it's not even really that close, honestly, for me.
No, and our numbers reflect that. We have a lot to break down today. But before we get rolling, we have a very, very, very important announcement. Today marks a very important day in Duel of the Ranks history because it's Amanda's birthday.
It is. It's my birthday.
It's your birthday. Woo! And you're with us.
The best place to be on your birthday. Yeah.
Yeah, I was talking about Star Wars. Yeah, like right as we were about to press record, my mom started calling me to wish me happy birthday. And I was like, wow, Mom, you had like 14 other hours in the day to call me and you chose me right at this moment.
This one.
So she'll have to get a call back later. If she's lucky.
If she's lucky. We have a lot to talk about tonight, Mom. We'll see if we can get to you.
Yeah.
Because tonight, we're talking about Ryloth. What about Ryloth, Amanda? What happened in these episodes?
All right. So in this awesome trilogy in Season 1 of the Clone Wars, the planet Ryloth, home to the Twi'lek people, falls under the oppressive occupation of the Separatist droid army. In Storm on Ryloth, Ahsoka disobeys orders during an attack on the blockade, leading to a loss of her squadron. Anakin guides her to persevere, and entrusts her with another daring mission. In Innocence of Ryloth, Obi-Wan must infiltrate a droid-occupied town to sabotage anti-aircraft guns, only to discover the inhabitants used as living shields. Clones forge an unlikely bond with the refugee Twi'lek girl Numa, shedding light on the true human cost of the war. And the saga concludes in Liberty on Ryloth as the Republic strives to liberate Ryloth from the droid army led by Wat Tambor. Mace Windu persuades Twi'lek freedom fighter Cham Syndulla to join forces in a cinematic battle to save the capital city and ultimately free the entire planet.
Huzzah.
Da, da, da.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
The stakes are high.
The stakes are high. And this episode, I feel like, or the series of episodes, gets called back on in a lot of moments in Star Wars lore. And the first thing that we're going to talk about is the flashback that we saw in Ahsoka live action series came from this series of episodes.
Really?
It takes place right around here. Well, it's not a sequence that actually happens, but it's, pretty much
seems like it happens
on
here.
Ryloth. Yeah, it's very well implied. Like, oh, this is one of our first missions. And there's Twi'leks in the episode, so it's...
Yeah, this is her first time leading a squadron, and she messes up. She thinks she can pull an Anakin and kind of go off script and do whatever she wants to, because, she watches Anakin do it all the time. And there's a real human cost to those decisions that she has to be faced with. So
yeah, they have that giant ship, one of those 3 that get taken out, and that she's over here talking about her few pilots that were behind her.
I'm sorry, but if an intern crashed like basically Air Force One, that person would not have a job anymore. That person would not be a Padawan. That person would not be an intern.
I mean, even in this case where you have someone who's, like I said, I would have a tough time if I was a clone being led by a 13-year-old, which they may be 13 themselves, to be fair. I don't know. They age very fast. I'm not sure.
Probably younger.
Yeah, so maybe she
I'm
does...
3 years old. Give me gun.
Yeah, maybe she still is their like superior officer in rank, even with age. But ultimately, She makes that decision. And what would you even call that star cruiser of those 3 that are out there? I don't even know what type of ship that really is, but of those giant ships the Republic has, they didn't get out in time because they waited for her. The question is, was that the right move? Should they have really stayed put for Ahsoka? Because
Should they leave her behind?
or should they have just said, all
Well,
right,
I mean,
you
even
gave me an order.
Obi-Wan kind of implies when he was like, oh, and your Padawan must have died too because everybody else on that mission died. And he was like, nah, she's just
We
she's just sad.
Yeah. We waited for her. Well, that's the thing. It's like in a typical war, I would question if a commanding officer would say, all right, here's your orders. Someone disobeys it. And they say, all right, well, we're going to
Try it again.
Thousands of people are going to die, but it's okay.
Here's your second chance.
We'll wait for you. Not even that. We'll wait. I'm just saying, like, I wouldn't be surprised if they would leave someone like, you're breaking orders. We're out. In this time, we're out.
Well, yeah, right. They wait for her, but then also he like eventually like gives her another opportunity, and she's like, "What's the plan?" And he's like, "I don't know."
Well, I mean, to be fair to her and to be fair in that situation, his plan was like, you know how you're really reckless? Well, I'm gonna blow up this whole ship. Gonna kamikaze you right
Watch how
into it.
reckless I can be.
I'll one up you.
Yeah.
I'll show you how to disobey orders.
Yeah.
But really, it was kind of that situation where it showed him like using his recklessness to highlight an opportunity for their strategy instead of just being recklessly unstrategic.
Right. Yeah. I really do appreciate the tactics in this episode. I think, it shows exactly how Anakin's mind as a general works. And I think it's probably one of the more interesting tactical kind of scenarios in the entire show. Honestly, they kind of just hit it right out of the park in this arc. And
I know.
angling a Venator like this to let the ships come out that side is so cool. They just take so much fire, and all the bombers come out. That sequence is incredible when they just
so good.
They're zooming out there.
Zoom. It was so good. It was so good.
It was a great series of episodes. And our scores collectively grow as the 3 episodes go on. So I wanted to call out specifically in this first episode, the characters got the highest marks from me because we really saw Ahsoka learn her lesson and actually grow. By the end of the episode, she's talking about she understands her enemy now, where like the droids don't take the bait right away, and they're like, oh, it didn't work. And she's like, hey, droids are dumb. Give them a moment. And what do you know? They fall into the plan. And it shows that she like is thinking more clearly and understands like the risks and who her enemy is. And I love that.
Yeah. And I do love too. I mean, yeah, that's a great point. And like, this is the best, I think, character development we've had for Ahsoka yet.
Yeah.
So that's something. Outside of that, I just enjoyed the story. I like that. Okay, here's what you're gonna do. You're following like your master, who you're supposed to emulate, and now you're getting reprimanded for it. But then he's gonna kind of go and do the same thing. And really, what we're saying is like, was it good? Was it bad? Depends if you won or not.
Yeah, really.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a results-oriented mindset, and we talked about that in sports psychology a lot. Not the healthiest way to think,
but it's the Jedi way.
It's Anakin's way.
That's for sure.
Yeah.
I did want to call out though, like I think these 3 episodes at the end of episode 1 and episode 2, there's this really nice like softball lob that the characters throw for the next episode, that they're like, all right, Obi-Wan, it's your turn to go down to the ground. And it's like, all right, transition. Yeah, it was. And I loved how this arc was able to take us to like outside the planet in space, to the ground, to like all of those different places on the battlefield, and seeing so many parts of like this planet and its effect on it.
Yeah.
It's like the first full-scale kind of Battle of Endor style battle in the Clone Wars, right? There's big battles in the other episodes in the first season, but this is like 3 distinct phases, and that's why it makes for such a good trilogy. 3 distinct stories to follow, and each of them are compelling and feature their own cool little moment between characters. Like I love Waxer and Boiler. You get some really good clone stuff in there.
Yes.
And then
Yeah.
with Mace Windu and Chom Syndulla, like that's the most likable Mace Windu's ever been for me, I think, is in
Oh,
this
yeah.
episode. And
Well-
Chom Syndulla is a great character.
Yeah. Well, and as Amanda said, all three of the episodes, the score collectively gets better and better. The first episode of the three, episode 19, we gave it a 77.27%, which people would say, well, that's not that high. That's actually so far,
pretty high.
well, it's the highest ranked episode yet, and they only get better.
Yeah.
So that's kind of promising, right? So episode 19, 77.27. Going into episode 20, we gave it an 81.2%. Again, each one of these episodes told their own individual story, but it was a part of a bigger arc, so which was great. Like I wish live action Disney Plus TV shows were able to do this. We're like, here's its own self-contained story that lends to the greater arc. Wow. And it was executed extremely well. Again, gave it an 81.2% as a whole. But when you have that little girl where the clones, like it starts at the beginning where he's like, I don't really want to go in and help the tailheads.
And we're like,
And-
wow, you just like said a slur out loud.
Yeah,
dude.
and like no care whatsoever.
Yeah.
No
Like,
chill.
I like how they also gave him like mutton chop, kind of like whatever that goatee mutton chop
Yeah.
thing. They're very like, this clone's name is Daryl.
Yeah.
Like, sorry, no offense into Daryl's out there. I got an uncle Daryl, love him very much, but I was like, this guy,
He's got Daryl energy.
yeah, he's
Big Daryl.
he's like,
Well,
it was
and-
Twi'leks.
Yeah, and they kind of
Tailhead.
lean into that a little bit where like even when they come up across the orphan Twi'lek, they're like, watch out. And he's like, I don't think she's armed, like
Yeah, and the other
it's
one's like,
just
yeah.
a kid,
Yeah, and they're humanizing it, and that honestly is like where sci-fi is at its best, where it takes elements like prejudice
Mm-hmm.
and it kind of unfolds it and says, well, yeah, you have this prejudice. Why? Because you have no experiential knowledge and understanding or connection with the actual people who you're talking about. By the end, he does have that, and so he thinks differently.
This is probably the heaviest episode of Clone Wars that we get yet. And I gave this one such a high score because this episode specifically sticks into my head as like just when I think back to the Clone Wars, the episode where Boyle and Waxer like find Nema is like one of the first things that comes to my head. We also start off with Obi-Wan kind of bringing his troops down, and he's giving the lay of the land to his army, and they're like, this is like actually civilian land. We are looking for minimal destruction, check your aim, all that kind of stuff. And that is like kind of the first time that we're like, oh wow, they actually have to be careful where they shoot. It's not just like anywhere. And these Twi'leks are being held captive as like a shield, and that already starts to bring in these really messed up ways of fighting,
Yeah, it's like a social dilemma.
Absolutely.
Yeah, these impossible choices. Yeah, it's like really a true war story. People say Rogue One was the first like war movie in Star Wars. No, the Ryloth arc was the first war movie in Star Wars.
Yeah, they talk about how the child was like starving and all of that. And it was honestly very emotional for me to watch, especially like with everything going on in the world. But I think that it does such a great job at showing conflict resolution and empathy like being extended to people that we don't normally interact with on a daily basis.
Mhm.
Yeah, totally.
People
Yeah.
you can't even communicate with. Yeah, there's a very human thing underlying that, especially when you see, like you said, like it's especially powerful in sci-fi across species.
Yes.
Getting
Yeah.
along is important.
And like at the end when they do maybe that's the end of the third episode where they get to the droids and they all like take him out of the thing and they're like bat. That's
Yeah.
for my mama and that's for my dad.
What I did think was interesting that was the episode. They're like, he's like, hey, there seems like there's just an innocent enough dance going on, and then what's to say that Mr. Syndulla is over here
Yeah.
like, I hope this doesn't bother you.
Yeah.
The men need some distraction.
Yeah.
And I was like, what are you saying? It seems like a very innocent dance. What are you saying?
We know what
Mr.
he's
Sham-
saying. We've
Shamdula?
seen those pinup
Dancing is so
girls.
scandalous.
Yeah, I was like, they're all fully clothed. It's men,
Swaying
women.
your
you like-
hips. Disgusting. Like Elvis.
Moving your hips like that, yeah.
Like, how dare you? I don't know.
Offensive.
I just thought that was interesting. I'm like, why should he be offended? What's
Yeah.
what's happening over
Yeah.
there? That what are you not alluding to? Cartoon Network.
Dancing is
Anyway.
not the Jedi way.
No.
Mace
Sure.
Windu is fine with it.
He's like, it's fine. And then Shakira comes out. La, 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 and then hips, and he just walks out the room. He's like, it's disgusting.
Too much.
Too much hip. I'm done. I am tired of those lying hips or any of the truth. Honest Abe hips, get out of here. Only to the deceitful one shall stay. All right, continuing on to the last episode. What happened in that one again? Oh yeah.
So this is the one where
Yeah.
finally Mace Windu has to like show them how it's done, right?
Mm,
Which was definitely the highlight of the episode for me. As they're like stuck on this hyper bridge. I don't know what you would call it, like a force bridge. The droids like pull the lever to turn it off, and Mace Windu like the sound kind of like drowse
Yeah.
out, and like you only hear the emphasized like sound of his like grips and his like jumps and stuff like that, and he makes his way across the bridge without needing the bridge, and that was so cool. I was like, oh yeah, that's
Mhm.
right, Mace Windu is like super badass.
he really is.
Does the parkour from the stap to the that scene is sick. Yeah, everything's all falling.
And, like even the way that he stares at that droid, he's like,
All pissed
the
off
framing
with
of the it's he's like, and it cuts really fast there too. It's
mm-hmm.
he's for real.
I wish he had like I remember the first time I ever thought that he was just BA. I was a kid and Cartoon Network had the 2D animated Clone Wars show. And it's the first time I saw Mace Windu. And I remember they set up in that show masterfully well General Grievous as like a Jedi hunter, and he was terrifying. And then Mace Windu came out and he force choked General Grievous's chest. And so when you went in to watching Revenge of the Sith and he had a cough, all of us 11-year-olds were like, if you know, you know. Like, only the real ones understand, at 11. But yeah, I remember like that was the time I was like, oh no, you like don't mess with Mace Windu. And so I kind of like that. It felt kind of like a callback.
He seems like truly a Jedi master. The way that he
and at least in fighting.
Yeah.
He's
well,
powerful,
and the way he like breaks into the ship, and he's like the most calm and collected, I feel like.
I wonder who would have won in a duel between him and Anakin. I'm sure there's many other content creators who've got the answer to that question. But you know what? I'm gonna message.
Sounds like a never-ending paradoxical question.
I'm gonna message someone right now as we think about this. But we're gonna have an answer.
I do again like what makes this episode and this trilogy of episodes so well ranked for me is how like emotionally serious this trilogy gets. Like we even see like the bombing of innocent villages, like, and how Cham Syndulla is talking about they don't want to fail from this like uprising, and Mace Windu is like, well, we'll offer our support, and Cham is like, well, we don't want another armed occupation, like that's not what freedom is for us. And I'm like, oh my god, imagine being like 11 years old and like not understanding what any of this means, but how like actually like heavy and legit that is to hear right now in 2023.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. Yeah, it's crazy because you see these, I mean, again, in like the second episode of the 3, the one you're really fond of, where you do see them all and they're living in a cave essentially. And again, he's got his daughter he's raising in it, and maybe she's not born yet. I don't know. He's got some kid there, whoever that is. And it's interesting to see that you're like, wow, all these people are coming together, literally living in caves for the greater good of freedom. And it's interesting how people are sitting on one side and they're like, ah, they live in caves, they're radicalists.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, I believe in democracy. And we ultimately see that,
They come together.
they come together for the greater good.
Yes.
Yeah.
Great.
That's nice.
Happy ending. It was great to see a happy ending in this
For
trilogy.
now,
For now.
We know. If you know, you know.
Stuff's gonna go down.
Stuff's gonna go down.
Oh yeah, lots of foreshadowing in this. How long before I'm fighting you, Master Jedi? I love that line so much.
Yeah, same.
Oh, I know. It felt kind of like the end of episode 1.
Yeah.
Where there's like this,
who is the Phantom Menace?
Yeah, well, and they're like the celebration on Naboo.
I
always think when he holds up that Silmaril and he's like, peace. And like, I'm like, everyone knows.
For
like,
now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. For like a day. But have your parade. You guys won your little battle. And ultimately, how impacted was Naboo by the Empire anyway? So maybe it was peace. I don't know the answer to that question.
I mean, it is the Emperor's planet, so he, I'm sure he gave him some favoritism.
Yeah.
We got a comment from KG about the studio. I've been wondering forever who is on that album in the upper left, and it's killing me.
I don't think. Hold on, that's the one Amanda's always called.
I've
out.
always been like, that's the most random one out here. And wait, KG says looks a bit like Anna Nalick, but I know that's not it. And you're gonna know as soon as Brody tells you who it is.
Well, I will say we were just at a used bookstore. Maybe it was like Half Price Books or something, and it was funny because we were like, "What CD should we get for the car?" And we saw that used CD, and we're like, "Oh, totally that!" Because no matter what time of day, when you see Nora Jones, you're never sad, you're never that happy. But no matter what, you can always jam to some Kenny G, to some Nora Jones, some easy listening. It doesn't matter what kind of mood. You're just like, because it's when you have a CD, it's in the van, it's in the car. You're not.
It's in the car forever.
Yeah, like what's the one thing? Because you're not. It's not like your.
Ask me what my CD in my car is.
What's the CD in your car?
Renaissance by Beyonce.
I believe that. No matter what mood, that's it. That's it for you.
So yeah, it's a Nora Jones.
It's a Nora Jones CD. Who is Anna Nalick?
2 a.m. and it calls me because I'm still awake. Can you help me? Oh, you know that song?
No, but I want you to keep going. Anna Nalick.
Yeah.
Hold on. Anna Nalick, breathe.
And breathe.
Okay, so
just breathe.
Oh no,
that song?
That wasn't it. I always thought that CD looked like there was a girl, Emma Roberts, I think, from some Nickelodeon show, and that's for the people who aren't watching the live session. They're probably super confused, but yeah, we have a bunch of like vinyls behind us and comic books and things in our studio, and yeah, I always thought that photo kind of looked like Emma Roberts from back in the day.
I've got Whitney right above my shoulder.
Wow, Whitney Houston.
Yeah.
Oh, what an icon. And behind your shoulder, you have Jim Croce. And above your head, you have Mando. And then I have Nora Jones, the 1975, and Elton John. KG, you were able to recognize the Elton John vinyl. That's like, you'd be the first. Most people also don't know the 1975, but
we know the 1975. I've seen them.
You've seen them live?
Mm-hmm.
I'm so jealous. They're my favorite band.
You and Jake can talk about that.
He likes the 1975.
He got me to go to them. Yeah.
How do I keep? He needs to talk more about himself. Is his problem? I learned awesome things about him from you, and then we hang out, and I don't learn these things till later.
Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. I love the 1975. Favorite band by far right now. Not even close. Anyway, any last thoughts on this episode that we didn't get to? Well, I do want to say, on the last one, I think we all gave it a decent rating. I mean, I gave all these like a 75, a 70, and a 71, but y'all gave it some pretty high marks. So the last episode got an 85.33, which
that's really high.
Means this arc, the first arc was Malevolence at a 53.6. The second arc was R3S6 at a 49.65. The third arc was a 64.4 and was the Newt Gunray arc. Then we had the Falorum arc, 47.35. Pretty rough. Meridian. I don't know. That was a 71.05. Blue Virus only a 65.5. And now,
but I haven't reviewed the Blue Virus one
well,
yet,
you
so
know,
a little
it'll
asterisk
be
in
a
there.
little better. But this one, Ryloth, the best one yet, at an 81.27, which means KG's got to start watching this show.
Yeah, she says, I'm definitely going to start watching next week's arc. No, you need to watch this week's arc because it's actually really good.
Honestly, I think we can all say, KG, you could skip everything else and just jump right to this. I think, am I wrong?
It's a good starting point for sure. I think it kind of establishes everything. It's got a little bit of everything that makes the Clone Wars Clone Wars.
Yeah, you don't really need any back context for the most part.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
no,
it's a serial.
And you jump around to all of these great characters. So
yeah, and like if you really like it, there are other fun moments, but this is one that it gets your attention and it keeps it.
Yeah, this is what like the Clone Wars like feels like it's meant to be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, I'm totally with you. With that, should we go into the hot take segment of the show?
Let's do it.
Let's get hot in here.
Don't be too proud of this podcast you've constructed. The ability to rank content is insignificant next to the power of an exceptional hot take.
It is hot takes time.
I think I have one.
You think you have one?
Okay, I am not much of a bug person in general, and I know I've been on this podcast before talking about the like spiders that we've seen show up in different Star Wars media. I can't remember their biblically accurate name or scientifically accurate name right now.
Leviathan.
Yeah. But I think that these, what were they called? Gutkers were terrifying and probably even worse than the spiders. Just
the spiders.
The first, and to say that anything is worse than a spider is a very big step for me. So it should automatically be a hot take for all of you. What I'm forcing you to believe. It's also my birthday, just saying. But this insect is really gross, and as we learned, it eats humans. Like it's carnivorous. Spiders, I think, for the most part, aren't usually like hostile towards people. So my hot take is that the Gutker is like the newest, most terrifying species in Star Wars.
More terrifying than a Sarlacc.
Yeah. Because the
CGI
Sarlacc
is
is
not CGI Sarlacc. I think the original's much scarier than the CGI one.
But a Sarlacc can't really like move. You just have to
Yeah.
like avoid it.
Don't you
This thing
love-
chases you and is like headstrong and like
That's what
ramming
you
through the
think
door.
until its tentacle grabs around your leg and starts pulling you in.
Just don't go to the desert. That's easy.
I don't know. I do love how the Book of Boba Fett kind of blended the two, with the beak kind of being way down in the belly of the Sarlacc or wherever it is. Anyway, back to your take. I mean, I don't know. Is it the scariest thing?
They have red eyes and spiky carapaces that were resistant to blaster bolts.
Yeah, that's
They're
scary.
the second most dangerous predator on Ryloth.
All right. I'm going to take a look
I don't
here.
think they're nearly as scary as a
The
lot of the
Rancor?
other things we see.
Rancor?
Rancor.
Gundarks?
No, Rancors are cute.
What about the Zillo Beast?
Cute.
The Geonosians alone, not to be
What about-
racist because I know they're sentient and
Well, but
everything,
cute.
but
You know what? I think you got some beef there. I brought up, what was it, Click Clack last week.
yeah, I do. Not a huge bug guy either.
Or Click Clack, and you're like, good riddance. I'm like, oh gosh, it's genocide.
I missed last week, so I'm gonna have to go back.
What about the brain worms from the Clone Wars?
Yeah,
Yeah,
worms are
that's
gross, but
scary.
these are more terrifying.
Okay, I am I would say the scariest thing in Star Wars is that space crab droid thing from Mando season 2. You know, that cyberpunk-looking thing. That was the scariest thing I've seen in Star Wars.
Was
yet.
that
The spiders.
No, season 3, right?
Season
Yeah,
2.
season 3. Sorry, season 3. Yeah.
Season 3.
Yeah,
On
and is kind
Mandalore.
of spider-ish.
Oh, the like droid ones.
Yeah,
The he and Bo-Katan fight.
Yeah.
Yeah, that thing was pretty crazy.
that was pretty unnerving. That's not really a creature.
No, so it
It's-
doesn't count, which means that mine is still accurate.
I'm just saying I would be more afraid of a Rancor than I would that thing. Even its roar
Or a
is more
Wampa.
scary.
The Wampas, yes. Yeah. Honestly, the Dianoga as well from episode 4. That thing is because the less you see, it's like show don't tell kind of.
I mean, it doesn't really ruffle
That
my
thing gets
feathers, but
me.
I'm sure it's ruffled someone's. So it's your birthday, so I'm gonna give you a birthday present and say it was at least a hot take.
I think it's a hot
Yay.
take
I
for
just
sure.
disagree. I don't think for me they are the scariest. I could see that. Like, I don't know.
We need like a Fear Factor Star Wars edition.
You know what the scariest thing to me, I think, in general, ever could be?
Being lost in space, floating in
No.
space.
So obviously, anyone that knows me knows I love Lord of the Rings. And if there's a character in Star Wars similar to that of ring wraiths from Lord of the Rings, things like that these spirit beings that are in this world, out of this world, that kind of thing. I'm sure there's something in Star Wars like that. That's way scarier. Like, you're not hiding behind walls. Like, it's just going to float through them.
Yeah.
That's way
That's
scarier.
I mean, that's kind of what Ahsoka was getting into when it came to the witches. Like,
That's the closest
eventually.
thing, I think.
Witches of Dathomir are also scarier than these things.
If you're friends with them.
Not if you're chill.
Not if you're Asajj Ventress.
Down with it.
Not if you're chill.
Yeah. Okay, so just say you disagree. Just ruin my birthday for me.
All right. Sorry.
I got a bad feeling about this hot take.
All right, I got one. I think
Milquetoast.
I think as excitable as the clones have proven to be this season when it comes to like putting up pinups and other things, I think that people on Ryloth are clearly probably the most, we'll just say healthily there, because all I know is
They're
if-
hedonists.
all I know is they were. If you're telling Mace Windu, hey, you might not be down with this, and nothing's even happened, all that means things are about to get crazy. And like, I don't know. All I know in those caves is I'm like, how Wolf of Wall Street do y'all actually go? So I don't know. I'm just saying, people on Ryloth might have clones beat for the most aroused people in Star Wars.
Wow. So you're saying the Twi'leks are hornier than the clones?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, but are they Twi'leks or Twi'leks? Because they called them Twi'leks in this, and I've heard Twi'leks before too.
It's maybe one of those dual pronunciation things. There's a lot of those in Star
Like a
Wars.
dialect, yeah.
Yeah, depending on which part of the planet
Han
you're
or
from.
Han.
I'm just saying, there's so much this season. There's so much this season where they're like, hey, we're gonna be
Hey, we're
suggestive.
guys.
We're gonna put up pinups in this, and then like, they're going out of their way with what's her name? The blue lady from Ryloth, who's the Jedi.
Ayla
Ayla
Secura.
Secura, yeah, went way out of her way to
Sexualize
sexualize her
her.
character. They did
Not to
some of that.
mention Ahsoka, like, still wearing, like,
Yeah, they did some of that with
bra.
Padme, and now on Ryloth, there's like, I don't even know. Like, the lady's pants are like super cut up, and you can see underwear through it. I'm like, this is kind of weird for a kid's show, but you guys have kept doing this. And so to this point, I think the clones have been the most aroused group to this
The
point.
thirstiest.
The
I
thirstiest
remember-
group. And now I think it's the people on Ryloth.
I don't blame them.
I
I will
mean,
suck
when
on
you're
that
living,
planet.
yeah, if you're living in like a war-torn area, I'm sure there's a lot of like sexual frustration happening.
There's a lot of
so.
just sitting around, not much to do.
I mean, someone could like wave their hand around and it would be like flirtatious because they would be like, look at that woman's wrist flick back and forth.
oh gosh. Well, anyway, yeah, so that's my hot take. I think they are the thirstiest group of people in Star Wars today.
I disagree.
I think the Hutts would have something to say about that.
I like how they would take offense to it. Excuse us.
Yeah, KG's right. Star Wars definitely twists Twi'leks to be sexy.
That's kind of how they were introduced. But literally, just the Ula
kind of
in
objects
Return
of
the Jedi.
desire. So I think you're falling into the propaganda by believing that type of stereotype. So,
But also, like,
check your sources.
but it's also kind of weird because, like, yeah, obviously they went out of their way with Return of the Jedi to like sexualize them and whatever else. But then, like, the dudes have really sharp teeth.
Mm-hmm.
And
I'm just saying, it's a bit unnerving for me to see all these guys with really sharp teeth. That's all I'm gonna say. Like, I don't know. I'm just saying, it's weird looking and it's kind of scary. They're kind of scary.
it's different.
I'm just saying, if you created a character and to sexualize that character and then you give him sharp teeth, I'm like, someone's in
No,
that.
well,
That's all I'm saying, and it's weird.
Yeah, I get it.
That's all I'm saying.
The guy's teeth are sharp.
It's scary. It's
But
scary.
I mean, it's also scary to see people with those like
Yeah.
porcelain veneer teeth that look like they come from a toilet bowl. That is also creepy to look at. But and
And sharp teeth. And I don't want to keep saying it. I went to a Christian school.
Oh, it's just anti-vampire hate now.
Okay, so maybe that's what it is. Maybe. Oh, you know what? This episode was released when Twilight was at its peak, and they're like, Twilight.
It's in
Let's
season.
give these men some sharp teeth. That's what people are into. Some Edward Cullen Twi'leks. Okay, well, guys, that's my take.
I'm gonna disagree.
Okay, why? Who
is hornier?
Who is the most thirsty of all the land?
I think General Hux is probably the thirstiest person in Star Wars.
I said race.
Race?
Yeah.
We're going there. Oh.
Probably then the Ewoks.
Yo, hold on. No. What?
They're like overpopulating, so like they're like rabbits. I'm sure that
they're just
never gonna.
That is the only time you actually see a baby in Star Wars, right? Is the baby Ewoks. Everyone else is kind of just other
they
than
are
the
sexually
twins.
active.
Yeah. All right. Fair enough.
So I disagree.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
Let's disagree and disagree. Okay. Well, because you said the Hutts.
I say the Hutts. I think Jabba is just the thirstiest man.
I can't even keep defending this.
I'm just turning red.
I got a bad feeling about this hot take.
Inevitably like turn the conversation into how horny Star Wars is.
So true though. Okay, like I'm not trying to devolve this into like a 12-year-old conversation, but literally there's so much this season, from the pinups, from character designs to like, all right, innocent dance, like, I hope it does not offend you.
But obviously those things like go over the head of so many children. Like I doubt any child, like if you did like a test screening on this, would pick up on like the pinup posters ever.
It's for the parents.
Well, it's sort of that little like yeah.
Dude.
You gotta throw a bone for the dads,
Drag, you know?
Crowd.
Yeah.
So bored. He's watching Star Wars at 8:00 in the morning with his kids, just questioning his life. Like, hey, okay, at least there's some nice art.
Yeah, at least there's some eye candy.
Star Wars.
gosh.
Something for me.
I don't know where we take this.
Guys, wait. I realized I didn't get to make a comment. This goes out to all my 90s babies out there, those early Gen Zers, late millennials, SpongeBob fans. I'm sorry, but Tambor, like Wat Tambor or whatever, he looks like Man Ray from SpongeBob. Do you remember? Did you ever watch SpongeBob?
Oh
he had
my
like the
gosh.
same type of like helmet build.
Yeah.
And that's all I could think of.
What was the name in SpongeBob?
Man Ray.
Man Ray.
Yeah.
Like
Some
the
more-
surrealist author or artist.
Some ET shenanigans
Man
going on
Ray.
here with
Yeah, see what I mean?
cross universe species.
I see
Bosk
what
was
you're
stolen from
saying.
Star Trek, you know.
I
It's
see
kind of one of
what
those.
you're saying. I'm an old millennial, KG says. Does that mean you didn't watch SpongeBob?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. Like
SpongeBob came out in like 94 or
Really?
95.
No, really?
Yeah, like 95, I would say.
Because I remember it. I'm not. Tell me I'm that old. Release year 1999.
Oh, okay.
1999. It's the dude with the blue. We're really keeping it on the thirsty.
Yeah.
We got a one-track
exactly.
mind with us today. Anyway, all right, Brian, do you have a hot take for us?
Yes, this is. I think this episode has the greatest Easter egg in all of Star Wars. Which I mean, I couldn't talk about this arc without mentioning the Ark of the Covenant. Funny play on words there.
Mhm.
This episode truly is the Ark of the Covenant of the Clone Wars. You get literally the entire, it's just right there in the shot. Wat Tambor stole it from Ryloth. That's just where it came from. And then a long time later in a galaxy far, far away, it crash landed onto Earth and became, what we know and love. In the Old
So
Testament.
you're saying that like the Ark of the Covenant is in one of these episodes? Did I just like miss
Did you not know that? Oh yeah.
No,
That's
I think
in,
I totally missed it.
I think it's in the third episode when Wat Tambor is loading up the ship with
Oh
all
yeah,
the treasure.
she's trying to get everything off.
Such a good Easter egg, you didn't even see it.
Wow.
But it's there. Indiana Jones's canon. Two amazing franchises.
Clever.
So wait, what's the hot take there then?
It's the greatest Easter egg
Ever
in Star Wars.
Ever.
Yes.
Considering I missed it,
It's an Easter egg though.
it is a good Easter egg. That makes it a good Easter egg, first of all, because I feel like a lot of people nowadays think that like a cameo is an Easter egg, and I just don't think people understand what Easter egg is supposed to mean anymore. So yes, it is an Easter egg, and the fact that it was able to tie together another George Lucas like
cousin
staple,
franchises.
is really cool. So I would give my approval for that.
I don't know of a better one, which is the problem. So I, for the time being, but no, I can't. I gotta be difficult. There's one that I love. I love from Star Wars Episode 3 how the ET people are at the Senate.
And
I just
that is a good one.
It's Spielberg.
It's clever.
I just I loved bringing that in, and it legitimizes that movie and says it's just a part of this bigger universe. And so I don't know. That for me is my favorite Easter egg when it comes to Star Wars.
I like that one because it also has a reverse reference going the other direction. In E.T., you see Yoda or a kid dressed up as Yoda, and E.T. seems to recognize him and goes towards him. So it is it's kind of like
That's
a multi-directional Easter egg. Yeah, movies pointing at each other.
Yeah,
which is cute.
That one's my favorite. I do think this is a very good Easter egg, though. I can't say it's my favorite just because of that moment. But Amanda, are you still agreeing?
I still agree.
So we're just going to give this to you. Roger. Well, this has been a lot of fun today. Before we wrap up today, I got to ask, just because I'm curious, 43 minutes, we've got some extra time. Of all the things you're into, if you woke up tomorrow and you were doing anything else, another podcast outside of a Star Wars podcast, just for the listeners, also for me, what is the thing you would do? Is it Beyonce, Amanda? Is it about cats?
No, I've actually spent a lot of time thinking about this, and I don't know if you'll be surprised about this or not, but this has been I'm going to copyright this, so don't steal my idea, but I've always wanted a podcast called Apocalypse How, where we talk about death, dying, and the end of the world, where like we could just all theorize like, I believe like the Bible says this. So like, okay, let's like entertain that and like figure out, oh my gosh, how would that really work? And then we could talk about like one of my favorite ways that I would hopefully die would be like being like aliens coming to the planet and like zapping us. So that would be like the last thing I would remember. It'd be like, oh, cool, we got to see that life did exist. Now nothing matters anymore. Awesome. But one of the lamest ways to die would be like a car crash, you know. Like everybody dies in a car crash, so
All
it'd be
the-
so lame.
I agree. That's why I gotta quit Uber. I
Right,
can't go
yes.
out like that.
But I think
He has so
there's
many
just-
of them,
I would
y'all.
love
He
to
has
talk
so many.
about like destigmatizing death and like kind of talking about our worries so it doesn't feel
You-
as
That's
I-
beautiful.
intimidating.
I remember just getting to know you. It was like week 1 or something, and I was talking about podcasting and other stuff. I'm like, so what are you really into? And you're like, death.
Dude, I wish that was a joke story that you were coming up with, because that was the first time I had a new job in like 5 years, and before that I was like straight out of college, so it was my first time like meeting new people in a long time. And I told my friends that I was like, I've been trying to like introduce myself, and I'm like, yeah, I'm into death, and I'm like, oh yeah, people don't like know me, so they don't like get that yet.
What does that mean to
I still
be
don't get it.
into death?
You know, like I'll just talk, like I'll talk about it, whatever you want, you know.
Yeah, that's
So-
beautiful, Amanda. I love it. I have
That's very
Memento Mori
Scorpio of
written up.
me.
It's one of my mantras. So
There you
I feel like
go.
I've talked a lot about with my friends starting a podcast about something very similar, just talking about just like taking phrases and verses from all different kinds of religious texts and fiction and nonfiction, all kinds of stuff, basically any literature, any music and movies, and then just kind of have a little group book study to analyze it and see how it kind of applies to modern life and how we can cope with all the crazy stuff going on.
Yeah. Is that what your podcast would be about, or would it be about something
Yeah,
different?
no, that's like literally exactly what me and my friend have been talking about.
Nice.
Getting something going
Something
for.
deep.
You're
Yeah.
not gonna do anything for your droid that you've created. You're not gonna
Oh,
just tell stories.
that'll come. That too. That
The
too.
whole fanfic.
I love the song in the comments. So many dumb ways to die. Anyway, no, I dig that. I would love to like I know these guys who are doing like an RPG podcast. Actually, Tim, who used to host the
Mhm.
show with us, is doing that. And I thought about like writing out a story and then just like reading it out as an audiobook, but adding sound effects
Like a
and
radio show.
kind of, yeah. And
Yeah.
just kind of going through story by story, week by week, and the story I write and play it out in that form, but also incorporate some media into it and put it out there. And it'd be kind of fun because it would like, it's evergreen. So people can always come back to it and share with people. And yeah, you're creating the story, and that would be a lot of fun. So I've thought about that. I've also thought, and I know someone who could help me out with this because I don't think I know enough. But I, as you already know, am obsessed with Lord of the Rings. And so doing some podcast focused on that, it would just be awesome.
Yeah. Just talking about more things that you enjoy.
Yeah, and I don't know what that would look like yet because a lot of people have covered it. So it'd have to be kind of like this, where it's a unique angle on Lord of the Rings.
Mhm.
But
Ranking
yeah,
every chapter.
Ranking every word.
every word, and Tolkien's got a lot of them. But no,
Ranking every tree.
I think it would be fun. Yeah, he talks a lot about every.
I haven't read it, but
tree.
that's what I've heard.
It's really great in audiobook form, but yeah, it can be a bit grueling on if you're just reading it. But no, something like that. I've always loved the idea of like writing something and putting it together and doing something like that, and especially loving Tolkien. It'd be easy to do something like this, something in the realm of Lord of the Rings, because it doesn't really feel like it's not draining. It gives you energy. You're
Mhm,
excited
right.
to talk about it, especially with other people that are really passionate about it. It just gets you going even more. So, yeah, like the people on Ryloth, they're excited to dance. I'd be excited to talk about Tolkien. We're
Yeah,
using
exactly.
Excited. It's excited is the word I used. But anyway, that's this week's episode of Duel of the Ranks. It is not a Lord of the Rings podcast. It's not any sort of mystery podcast. It's not a death podcast.
Though
It's a-
sometimes death is happening.
I don't know what.
I'll let you know when it is.
It happens. It happens. But no one died here tonight. So we'll see you next week. Unless we don't. I don't know. Amanda, you lived a lot of good years on this earth. Don't die on us. We'd like to have many more years with you. So, anyway, until next week, thanks for joining us. May the force be with you. And we'll see y'all next Thursday for the end of the Clone Wars. Is that it? Have we
Season 1.
Yeah.
End of season 1.
For the end of season. Wait, was this the end? I've been doing
There's
that
one more episode.
Oh, we have
Ooh.
one more episode. Hostage Crisis.
Nice.
That's the end. We love you. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next week.
Ciao.